Hello, welcome back. This is Steve, another YouTube video, and a bit of a fun one this one because it's getting to the end of the year. We're going to be looking at some Pokedex entries, and we're going to use the English in those weird Pokedex entries to think about the grammar tests for a B2 and C1 Cambridge exam and to improve your English in general. So this little thing that you see on the card here, this entry where it describes the Pokemon, we can read that, we can use that, we can learn a lot of English from it. Really, the point of this video is that you are going to learn English if you get involved with your hobbies, such as Pokemon, in English. Doesn't have to be Pokemon. Should be, but doesn't have to be. Could be anything. But the point is, engaging with your hobbies in English means you'll be learning loads if you're paying attention, and well, you should be because you're interested in it. So that's really a great way of learning a language, isn't it? Not just that, but then really diving into it specifically for Cambridge-style activities, if that's your goal. So we're going to do a complete use of English exam like I've done in many videos, completely original, made by me, just using Pokedex entries. Starting with part 1, we can see we have got 8 Pokemon that I chose at random, although I started with Bulbasaur because you have to start with Bulbasaur number 1, and it's use of English part 1. So I took their Pokedex entry and I thought what kind of expressions would be tested on part 1, and you can see it's kind of meaning of the sentence, putting the right vocab in the sentence, looking at the prepositions of the sentence to see how they fit together, a little bit of grammar, for example, in part 4. Anyway, pause the video, read the Pokedex entries, write your answers 1 to 8, write them on a piece of paper, 1 A, B, C or D, 2 A, B, C or D, and be honest with yourself to see how many you know, because some of these are a bit tough. I've tried to focus this on, hard B2-C1 possibly, so it fits, and you learn things that you didn't know before. Right, you're going to do that. You have done that. We are pausing the video, and now we're looking at the answers as I explain them. The back is filled with nutrients. If it's stuffed with it, it's full of it, it's filled with nutrients. Number 2, in search of is an expression. Number 3, it is considered by people to be cute. People consider it cute. The passive there, of course. Number 4, understanding how this little centipede poisonous thing kills. Well, it's going to clasp them, hold them, until it, the prey, the victim, stops moving. So it does that until it stops. Makes sense. Number 5, that's a blast of fire, because that's the best meaning for obviously breathing hot fire to attack something is like a blast. A Groudon, you suffer from floods. You don't if Groudon comes and removes the rain. And Vanillish, it's an ancient ice age, referring to the fact that it was a long time ago. And number 8, this is a tough one. It boasts powerful front legs, meaning it possesses an impressive attribute. If you boast something, obviously boasting means, hey, I'm the best. But if we say it boasts this feature, it's almost like saying it's an impressive feature. So you have a score out of 8 for use of English part 1, and you've learned about some interesting Pokemon, or you've remembered some interesting Pokemon back from when we all played Pokemon, although I still do play the trading card game recently. A lot of fun, enjoying that, as I mentioned in the previous video. And let's look at part 2. Same thing again, 8 random Pokemon with their descriptions, and you need to complete the blanks with a little word, grammatical word. Obviously all words are grammatical, but you know what I mean. Prepositions, connecting words, time markers, common verbs that are part of phrases that you should know for B2 and C1. Pause the video, write your answers, and then we're going to look at them and you're going to see how many you got right. And if you didn't get it right, you're going to learn something. Number 1, they make the garbage part of their bodies. Make, common verb, meaning to cause something to happen, isn't it? Well, they make it part of their bodies. Number 2, this is a good C1 question. You are drawn to something, meaning you are attracted to it, pulled to it. And it's like a moth that is attracted to, drawn to the light. Number 3, it's studying the things that are around it. What is around it? We need the relative pronoun. That means the things that. Number 4, this is another tough C1 question. You model something, your style, on something else. Similar to basing its fighting style on, like based on a true story, modeled on the flow of a river. You can see some patterns emerging for your common prepositions. Number 5, this one's just an expression, but it's a nice expression. You fire at will, or you do something at will, meaning whenever you want to. Number 6, another typical B2-C1 expression. So we need an expression that means you respect each other's rights. People who respect each other's rights. That's going to be one another's rights. Obviously with the apostrophe because it's possessive, the rights of one another. Number 7, they're elegant, but they're strong and flying for thousands of miles. But it's a contrast, starting with despite. That's how we start a sentence for a contrast. And number 8, this one you just have to know that you run in a straight line. I guess does that make sense? Or is that just, I don't know, it sounds right to me. One of those that is an expression. Let's just say it's an expression. If the teacher doesn't know why the answer is in, it just is. Accept it. So you have a score out of 8 for use of English part 2. Let's move on to use of English part 3. And this is actually where it's really good because they do tend to use lots of these word transformations in Pokedex entries. This was what gave me the idea originally. Pause the video, look at Squavit and Haunter and Arceus and all these Pokemon and transform the word at the end of the sentence into a different word using the same root so that it makes sense in the sentence. You've paused the video, you have written 1 to 8 and you've written your final answers and you've locked them in. And here come the correct answers. Number 1, it's uneasy because it's a squirrel. It likes berries. If its cheeks are empty, it's uneasy, uncomfortable, not happy. Number 2, this ghost thing obviously operates in darkness. Number 3, this is a god. The mythology says it's a god. There's a random Pokemon that is a god. But you can put it in your Pokeball and make it fight and put it in the computer. Anyway, it's the creator. Slightly irregular there with an O. It just is. Number 4, the verb for vibration is vibrate. Number 5, nice one. How does it avoid attacks? Well, it's dancing. How is it doing it? Let's take the adjective, elegant. Let's make it an adverb, elegantly. It elegantly avoids attacks. Number 6, measurement words. As always, we've practiced this on all these exams. It lives in the depth or depths. Both are okay. Number 7, this one is a bit irregular, isn't it? Because I think this is different in different languages. But what does it use? What are the thing that everything's made of? Chemicals. Chemicals are what you study in chemistry, in the subject, the topic of chemistry. And number 8, fear and, this is a good one. We need a negative word, don't we? We need a negative noun because fear is a noun. Uncertainty. So that's a nice C1 question there. But again, from real English, from the Pokedex for these little creatures. So there we go. That's the end of part 3. You've got a score out of 8. You're keeping your score. Let's do part 4. And as I always say, this is why you're paying me lots of money, because these are difficult to make, these questions. I have taken famous quotes from the game, from the anime, from the idea of Pokemon, and I've made them into use of English part 4 questions, which means you need to make the second sentence complete using the word in bold without changing it, using a maximum of 5 words for this video. Sometimes for the C1 exam, it's 6, but we're going to say you can do it in 5 for these videos. Well, now I think about it. Pause it, write your answers. Should take you 10 minutes if you're really thinking about it carefully, if you're really trying to learn something here and you're really ready for the exam. And now I'm going to show you the answers. And number 1, my ratata is not the same as. If it's different, it's not the same as. We know that same goes with as, and we know that the negative is not. So those are your 2 marks. For anyone new around here, this dividing bar means you get 1 mark for not and 1 mark for the same as. If you said not the same than, then you got not, you got 1 mark. But no, same as, so you only got 1 mark. And it's going to be the same for the rest of the questions. Professor Oak told Red this, then you warn someone. You warn someone to do something or not to do something. He warned Red not to go outside. And obviously don't go out, warn you not to go. Number 3, this is a passive one, isn't it? They are being forced. Someone is making them evolve. Or you could say they are making something like that. But basically the point is it's being forced to happen. Number 4, we like shorts, don't we? I'm a fan of shorts due to, thanks to. You're a fan of something, you like them, and with to, because, due to, thanks to. Number 5, another reported speech question. If, whether, whether she believed in. Obviously, we need believed because now it's asking in the past. And number 6, surrender with give. That's going to be give up now. Or get ready, prepare, or be ready is also okay. So you've got a total of 12 there, a total of 36 for all of the use of English. And as you know, 60%, if you get 60% here, I'd say you're probably around C1 because this was a bit of a tougher one. If you get 60%, you should be well prepared. The main point is though, hopefully you learn something. If you want to keep practicing this, it's very simple. I had a lot of fun doing this. You can use your hobby, think about writing for your hobby and think about what English you're really learning from it. For Pokemon, what I did was I went to Google for a random number generator. I went to the Bulbapedia Pokedex to find a Pokedex, to find the Pokemon that corresponds to that number. Then I looked at the Pokedex entries with a use of English mindset, thinking for part 2 what prepositions would be tested on part 2 and connect some phrasal verbs and relative pronouns and all that. And for part 3, thinking of words that have roots, like we saw dark, darkness, certain, uncertain, certainly, uncertainty. You can learn so much if you're focusing with the right mindset. Okay, I hope that was useful and a little bit fun. It was fun for me. Come back next week for the end of year quiz.